First come, first serve scheduling algorithm. CPU scheduler is the module of the operating system that selects one of the processes from the ready queue and allocates this process CPU. In ready queue, there might be number of processes which are waiting the allocation of CPU. So CPU scheduler will select one of these processes from the ready queue and will allocate this process the CPU. The question here is, how does the CPU scheduler know which process to select from ready queue for execution? As I said, there might be many processes in the ready queue. So how does the CPU scheduler know that which process to select for execution? CPU scheduler implements a scheduling algorithm that defines the policy to select a process from the ready queue. So CPU scheduler implements a scheduling algorithm, and this algorithm defines the policy that which process will be selected from the ready queue. In first come, first serve algorithm, the process that comes first in the ready queue will be allocated CPU first. So under this scheduling algorithm, scheduler will select a process that has arrived first in the ready queue. And this process will be allocated CPU. FCFS policy can be implemented using FIFO queue, first in, first out queue. FIFO queue is an example that we use every day in our daily life. For example, a queue of customers in front of ATM machine in a bank. And these customers wish to use the ATM machine to perform some transactions. Now, the customer that is at the front of this queue or at the head of this queue, that will be the first who will use the ATM machine. And if a new customer joins this queue, he will join the queue at the end or at the tail of the queue. When a process enters the ready queue, its process control block is linked to the tail of the queue. In the same manner, a queue works in FCFS algorithm that a new process, when a new process is admitted, its process control block is linked to the tail of the queue. And CPU is always allocated to the process that is at the head of the queue. The running process will be removed from the ready queue. The process that is at the head of the queue, and when this process is selected for execution, its process control block is removed from the ready queue. Just as in case of queue in front of bank ATM machine, the customer who will use the ATM machine, he is removed from the head of the queue. Let's take an example to understand this concept. Suppose that there are three processes, P1, P2, and P3, that arrives in the order. That is, process P1 arrives at time 0, process P2 arrives at time 2, and process P3 arrives at time 5. Each process has a corresponding burst time. The arrival time of a process is the first time when process arrives in the ready queue. A process may come to the ready queue at different times. For example, a newly admitted process. Whenever a new process is started, this process will join the ready queue. And this is the first time when process has arrived in the ready queue. Apart from this, a running process who is blocked due to some IO operation and it goes into the waiting state. When this process recovers from the waiting state, it will join the ready queue. However, this is not the first time this process has joined the ready queue. So that's why arrival time is defined as the first time when process arrives in the ready queue. Burst time can be defined as the time process executes on the CPU. So it is the time duration during which process will be executing on the CPU. As we can see in this figure that in ready queue, there is only one process, process P1. So this is the time 0. And at time 0, there is only one process in the ready queue, process P1. So at time 0, CPU scheduler will select this process from the ready queue and will allocate CPU to this process. While this process is running on the CPU, another process joins the ready queue, process P2, that joins the ready queue at time 2. And still, P1 is running on the CPU, and at time 5, another process joins the ready queue. That is process P3 that will join the ready queue at time 5. And this process will join the queue at the tail. So at the head of the ready queue, there is process P2, and at the tail of the ready queue, there is process P3. As soon as process P1 completes its execution, it will exit from the system. Now again, CPU scheduler will have to select a process from the ready queue, and it will select a process from the head of the queue because it is using FCFS algorithm. So process P2 will be selected and dispatched to the CPU. When process P2 will complete its execution, then CPU scheduler will select the next process from the head of the queue. And this time there is only one process in the queue, which is P3. So P3 will be selected and scheduler will dispatch this process to the CPU. And finally, this process will complete its execution and will exit the system. Here is the Gantt chart that explains the schedule of these processes in the system. Gantt chart is a bar chart that defines the schedule for a given set of processes on a system. Gantt chart gives us the information on the start time and the finish time for each process in the set. As we can see from this Gantt chart, that process P1 started its execution at time 0 and it completed its execution at time 24. And when this process completes its execution, the next process from the ready queue will be selected. That was the process P2 because its arrival time is earlier than the process P3. So among these two processes which are in the ready queue, process P2 will be selected next and it will start its execution at time 24. And after 3 units of time, it will complete its execution. Then process P3 will be selected and it will start its execution. And after 3 time units, it will finish its execution. Let's calculate the turnaround time and waiting time for each of these processes in the system. Turnaround time can be calculated using this equation. That is, turnaround time is equal to completion time minus arrival time. So what is turnaround time? Turnaround time is the time interval when a process is admitted to the system. That is, starting from the arrival time of this process and till its completion, this time duration is known as turnaround time. So we can compute the turnaround time for any process by looking at the Gantt chart, from where we can get the information that what was the completion time of the process. And we also need the information about the arrival time of this process, that when this process arrived in the ready queue. We can calculate the waiting time by subtracting burst time from the turnaround time. Remember, waiting time is the sum of all those times when the process has been waiting in the ready queue. And turnaround time is the time when the process was admitted in the system, and starting from this time till its completion, this time is known as turnaround time. And during this time, a process has been in various stages. It will be in the ready queue, waiting for the allocation of the CPU. It will be running on the CPU. That is the burst time of this process. So if we subtract the burst time from the turnaround time, we will get the waiting time, the sum of all those times when the process has been waiting in the ready queue. From the Gantt chart, we can obtain information on the completion time for each process. Process P1 completed its execution at time 24. So the completion time for P1 is 24. And similarly for process P2 and P3, we can get the completion time from Gantt chart. That is 27 and 30 respectively for process P2 and P3. Now to calculate the turnaround time, we will use the completion time and we will subtract the arrival time of the respective process from its completion time. And similarly, using the second equation, we can obtain the waiting time for each process. We can also calculate the average turnaround time and average waiting time for this set of processes. To calculate the average turnaround time, we will have to add up the turnaround times of individual processes. And we will divide this sum by the number of processes in the set. So we will obtain the average turnaround time, that is 25. And similarly, we can calculate the average waiting time for this set of processes. We will add up all the waiting times for each process, and we will divide this sum by the total number of processes in the system, giving us value 15. Let's take another example. It is, again, we are having three number of processes in the system, P1, P2, and P3. And these processes have the same burst length as we have seen in the last example. However, the arrival time of these processes is different from the arrival time of the processes in the last example. These processes have arrived in a different order. That is, first process P2 has arrived in the system at time 0, then process P3 arrives in the system at time 2, and finally process P1 arrives in the system at time 5. Here is the Gantt chart for this particular schedule using FCFS algorithm. So at time 0, there is only one process in the system, which is P2. So scheduler will select this process and allocate it CPU. This process will execute for 3 time units. And while it was executing, another process joins the ready queue at time 2. This is the process P3. So as soon as process P2 will complete its execution, CPU scheduler will select the next available process from the ready queue, which is process P3. So it will be allocated CPU. While this process will be running at time 5, another process joins the ready queue, which is the process P1. And when process P3 will finish its execution at time 6, then CPU will be allocated to the next available process in the ready queue, which is the process P1. So P1 will complete its execution at time 30. Here is the completion time, turnaround time, and waiting time for each of these processes. The completion time for process P2 is 3. For process P3, the completion time is 6. And for process P1, completion time is 30. And we can obtain the turnaround time by subtracting the arrival time from the completion time of the respective process. And similarly, we can get the waiting time by subtracting the burst time from turnaround time for each of these processes. If we calculate the average turnaround time and average waiting time, we will get the values 11 and 1 respectively. Let's compare these two examples. As I said, that the number of processes are same, as well as the burst time of each process in these two examples is similar. The only difference between these two examples is the difference in the arrival time. That is, in the first example, we see the order of the processes is P1, P2, and P3. And the respective arrival time is 0, 2, and 5. Whereas in the second example, as you can see in the second table on the left of the screen, the order of the processes has changed. Now the order is P2, P3, and P1. And how the order of how the arrival order of these processes has affected their waiting time. In the second case, the average waiting time is 1. Whereas in the first case, the average waiting time was 15. So we see there is a substantial difference between the average waiting times of these two cases. By changing the order of the processes, we have obtained a different measure for the average waiting time. As you can see in the first case, where the average waiting time is 15, the first process that will be executed by the CPU is P1. And this process has burst time 24 time units. And this burst time is very large as compared to the remaining two processes in the same table, that is P2 and P3, which have burst time 3 and 3 respectively. And in case of second example, we have allowed the execution of shorter processes before the longer process, that is P1. So we have, in the second example, we have allowed the execution of P2 and P3 before the execution of the longer process, that is P1. And we have obtained the minimum value for the average waiting time. Convoy effect. This situation can be described as the convoy effect. Convoy effect is if a long process arrives before the short processes, then the small processes have to wait for a long time to get the CPU. Hence, in FCFS scheduling algorithm, under this policy, if a long process has arrived in the ready queue before the short processes, by long process, we mean the process whose burst time is greater as compared to the other processes in the ready queue. And the short processes are those processes whose burst time is shorter. So if a long process has arrived before the short processes, then obviously this process will be allocated CPU before the short processes. And consequently, the short processes have to wait for a long time to get the CPU, because when the long process will finish its execution, then the CPU will be available for the shorter processes. And shorter processes will have to wait for a long period of time. This situation is known as convoy effect. So what are the strengths and limitations of first come first served algorithm? FCFS is the simplest policy because a queue is a structure that we use almost daily in our life. So we can easily understand the first come first served policy, and we can easily implement this policy. As far as the limitations of this policy are concerned, the first limitation is average waiting time is often quite long. As I have discussed the convoy effect, and we have seen that waiting time is dependent that how the processes have arrived in the queue and what is their burst length. If a longer process has arrived in the queue earlier than the shorter processes, then the average waiting time will be increased. It is often quite long. The second limitation is FCFS is non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Non-preemptive means that if a process is running on the CPU, we cannot take the CPU back from this process until this process voluntarily releases the CPU. Hence, if a process is allocated CPU, the process will keep the CPU until either it completes its execution or the process goes into the waiting state. And if next limitation is that this algorithm is not suitable for multitasking systems. What is a multitasking system? A multitasking system or a time-sharing system is a system that can be shared by multiple users, and each user may run number of processes on the system at the same time. So these processes will run concurrently on the system. For example, a person who is using laptop, that person might be working on some Word file, and at the same time, he might be surfing the internet using web browser, and he might be listening songs at the same time. So three different applications are running in the system. And it appears that these applications are running in parallel. However, this is not the case. These applications are running concurrently. The system is being switched between these applications or these processes so frequently and in a fast manner that it appears to the user that the applications are running in parallel. Though these applications are running concurrently because we are taking system from one process and we are allocating it to the other process, and then after a short interval of time, we are taking back system from the second process and we are allocating it to the third process. That is, we need a preemptive scheduling algorithm to implement or to realize multitasking system. And because FCFS is non-preemptive, we cannot switch between processes until a process itself releases the CPU. Hence, FCFS is not suitable for multitasking systems.